computer because I don't trust cloud that much as of now. For the first time, I'm doing this on Zoom. All right. We've got 28 people in. We'll wait for 1 more minute and then we'll begin. All right. Let me just look at the chat. There's nothing on the chat yet, which is always nice. Once we actually start, we might have more conversation in the chat. I see a lot of community leaders in the attendee list as well. Thank you, gentlemen, ladies, for joining in. I hope it's going to be an interesting conversation today with Himanshi, Diksha, Ajay, and Gaurav. All right. I think we are on time. Let me share my screen and then we will begin. All right. Let me put this here and hit present so that you guys can start joining me in the slides as well. Please let me know when you can see my screen.
We can see it.
Awesome. All right. So let's begin. As you can see, this is the title for today. We are doing Unfiltered ITSM. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. Dave is our official second moderator, and he'll be letting people into the chat. If you have any questions, I have chat open as well. Welcome, Eric. Good afternoon, good evening. At any point in time, if you have questions, feel free to just write it down in the comments. And again, as I mentioned, since this is the first time we are actually doing this, so if there is anything pluses or minuses, we hope that you tell more about it at the end. One request, and the only request that I have, is to not use any sort of profanity. When we say unfiltered, it still needs to be civilized. It can be unfiltered, but still needs to be civilized. As a moderator, just had to call that out, so I'm doing it. All right, let's begin. Let's jump and give you a quick introduction about ITSM-ESM Masters. Uh, this group was created a while back when we started realizing that maybe only cities should not be the dividing factor or uniting factor for people between, expertises. So Dave, Jovan, and a little later, I joined this group, and that's where we have come into the picture. We do events talking about ITSM and ESM, more specifically on the virtual side. I specifically try to do this earlier in the morning in the US time, later in the evening India time, so that we can cover APAC. Dave and Jovan, Dave is based out of US, Jovan is based out of UK, and they do their times event in their time zones as well. You can see there's a QR code on the screen. I would ask if you could take your phone out and scan that QR code. What it will do is let you be part of this session as we go along. So basically, you need to either scan this QR code or go to menti.com and enter in the code 75937416. This will let you inside this conversation and we'll be able to participate as we go along. All right, Gaurav, Himanshi, Diksha, and Ajay, as I said, nothing is structured. We'll just open the question. We'll see some questions I have prepared, some questions we'll see as we go along. But again, you guys can ask each other questions. You guys can ask me questions. It's just open conversation. All right. But before we actually begin, I wanted to see where our audience is coming in from. So I've put in some numbers or some roles in here so that we understand you better and we try to have conversations in that direction. While that is being done, I would ask the panel to quickly introduce themselves as well. I'll popcorn to Ajay, who can then popcorn to everybody else. About me, my name is Sajid. I work as the Director of Agile Practices and Products at Trundle. Been a committee leader for around 7 years now, leading the Delhi Gurgaon chapter. I also run a virtual community called QuizBiz and now have been part of this community called ITSM-ESM Masters. Super excited about today. And yeah, looking forward to having more interesting conversations like this. Ajay, I hand it over to you.
Hi everyone. This is Ajay joining in from Kochi, India. I lead operations at View26, which is an Atlassian marketplace partner. We primarily focus on ITSM apps, and glad to be meeting you all in this maiden first ever format.
Nice. Awesome. Just pick somebody else from the group, Ajay.
Yeah, I'll go with Himanshi.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Himanshi. I'm the product manager in Atlassian and particularly looking after the JSM product. And I'm joining from Gurgaon, India. So maybe I'll pass it on to Gaurav.
Okay. Had trouble unmuting myself, so thanks, Ajit, for that. Myself, Gaurav, working as an ITSM consultant with Nagaro, primarily working in the JSM space, but yeah, do assets and everything within the ITSM and also a bit of PPM. So would see how it goes. As Ajay said, the maiden endeavor. Fingers crossed. Let's see. Hopefully, Sajid doesn't put all of us in a soup, right? So.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
we hope.
joining in, absolutely. uh, so joining in from Delhi, probably with Himanshi and Sajad, both of them are from Gurgaon, so happy to be here. Over to you, Diksha.
Hello, everyone. So I work as a product manager alongside Himanshi in the same space, looking after alerting, on-call, and stakeholder management for GSM operations. So look after both Opsgenie as well as Jira Service Management with respect to these features, and happy to be here as well.
Awesome. Looks like our audience is quite varied as well today. We've got support people, project management people, people from in the engineering background, and directors and executives as well. If you're still looking for the QR code, you don't need the QR code to join in every slide. At any point in time you want to jump in, just go to menti.com and use the code that is mentioned up on top, and you'd be able to get in. As of now, I think somewhere around 18 people or 17 people are on with us. But as I said, you don't need the QR code every time. All right, let's move on. Let's look at what the next slide is, which is also, I wanted to know how long have you been using JSM? So since you're attending a session on ITSM and JSM, I would want to know what has been your duration of your experience with JSM or JSD prior to JSM. I know Himanshi and Diksha, you guys might have varied answers on this, but I'll start with Gaurav because I know he's probably the most experienced in this domain, right, Gaurav? So yeah, go ahead.
So before I talk about JSM or JSD as a tool, uh, to be honest, I started my career in support. So being a part of service management for over a
Nice.
decade and a half now in some shape and form. But if we talk specifically about JSM or rather JSD, it's been over 5 years, going by the options which we have on the screen. So it's been
Hmm.
over 5 years that I have been a part of it, uh, have kept my hands dirty or kept my hands clean, whichever way we want to see it. So have seen it grow and I'm loving the product the way it is shaping up. So
Nice. I'm glad we are recording this. Himanshi and Diksha can just send this to their bosses and say, see feedback. Awesome. Himanshi, what about you?
Yes. Apologies. I think I mute myself because I have some background noise. But yeah, I've been using this product for like 2.5 years. And of course, I think since I've started using it at that time, Opsgenie wasn't integrated, but we gradually brought that all the native capabilities in JSM. I think it's panning out really well. And I mean, I've seen it grow from that phase. So I'm also enjoying it. And I see a lot of improvement opportunities also that we learn from all of you. So looking forward to hear how things are shaping up with you and how more how we can make things better for you or for our customers. So yeah.
Diksha?
Yeah, well, similar to Himanshi, technically we don't use JSM for our day-to-day jobs. We use it to help customers navigate use cases and help them sort of figure out how to curate their incident management workflows better because we ourselves are not incident managers, but would love to wear the shoes of one given that there's a lot of chaos when there are SEV 0, SEV 1 incidents that happen in organizations. Other than that, as an engineer before, I have experience like when you go on call and use alerts and sort of look at whether things are running seamlessly. So it's great to, sort of build something that customers actually use and provide services to their own users as well.
Nice. And before Ajay, I ask you the same question, I'm actually going to go forward and share the next slide where people can start contributing or sharing their response into the next question, which is what is the biggest driver for moving from ITSM to ESM? Now, we've been talking about ITSM for a couple of years. And no, I think couple of years is an understatement. We started talking about ESM a couple of years ago. ITSM has been in the picture for like as long as ITIL started becoming mainstream, and we started saying, oh, we need to make IT digital, and all those buzzwords kept creeping into the system, right? But we started talking about ESM comparatively younger when it comes to ITSM. So I would ask Ajay, and then we'll go to the other people on the panel as well, to share his maybe as somebody who is part of first the marketplace and somebody who creates products for people in the ITSM ESM domain. How do you decide whether you want to yourself move from an IT service organization to an ESM based organization, and whether you're talking about from perspective of creating a product which caters to this audience? What is the driver?
Right. I mean, just to talk about my experience with Jira Service Desk, right? I mean, initially when we started off, there was Jira Service Desk. It was like long years back, around 7 to 8 years back, when we started with creating apps on top of Jira Service Management. And the journey has been like, been quite a lot, because you have seen JSM evolving from the Jira core platform into getting the required modules for supporting Jira Service Desk. So you had Atlassian adding organization support, help desk support. Sitting as a marketplace vendor, you always see the evolution of the Jira core into a newer product of Jira Service Desk. And then around 4 to 5 years back, Atlassian supporting service management with all the 4 processes, the incident management, change management. And you've seen various acquisitions which were made, assets getting integrated, right? So all those kind of things, the forms getting added. So the journey has been quite interesting, right? Because you've seen the evolution of JSM now into ESM as well.
It's interesting that you directly jumped into the meat of it, Ajay, because you directly dropped in key bombs like integrating assets and talking about, merging forms into the picture, because some of these have gotten mixed responses from our community or ecosystem itself. I pointed towards Diksha and Himanshi. How does Atlassian look at these challenges? I portray this as challenges because I know integrating a product which works on assets, integrating a product which is an on-call system into an existing JSM or JSD, then how difficult or easy it is.
Himanshi,
Any
do you
of
want
you
me?
could take it up.
I can go and then Himanshi can add on. It is sort of tricky to integrate anything to an existing platform because it works on its own system with its own key objects. Currently, if you see in JSM, there were projects, then we sort of built in alerting and on-call where we integrated alerts to incidents. So there were 2 separate objects, and you need to find a link for these two also to communicate well. Then came in services, where we recently introduce linking services to alerts and then fitting into the broader picture of incidents that tie and originate from alerts and which services get impacted, and building that whole picture of, okay, easy to identify the payment services down and this is where the problem is. It is tricky, but it has its own pros because you're able to have a single system where all your data resides, and you're able to build logical conclusions through communication across these different objects that sit together. And you're also able to leverage existing platform capabilities like automation, where now you can maybe trigger creating an issue from alerts itself. So there are benefits of integration because everyone wants a single product with everything in that, having a history of the data, having people communicating and collaborating on the same instance. The challenges come where you are trying to figure out what's the best possible mode that you can link these objects together, ensuring that they both also, like other objects, have their own complexities that they come with.
Right.
So
Nice.
this is something that I've experienced with the work that we've done of integrating operations features in JSM. Himanshi,
Nice.
over to you.
Yes, I think Diksha covered pretty much a lot of things. Benefits, definitely, we have seen it. I'd probably touch upon the challenges which we see. Of course, technically, there are a lot of things, but we also think from the customer perspective. Someone who has been using two products, let's say JSM and Opsgenie, if they have to come and start using JSM, how will they discover the features? How will they get into this product and will start using it as seamlessly as they were using it earlier with Opsgenie? So that's one of the biggest challenges that we try to figure out, as how we make things easier for them, not just in the final product, but also if they have to move their things from A product to B product. So there are a lot of customer experience decisions that are taken during this process. Of course, technically it is challenging, but apart from that, this is also another aspect that we have to handle to bring that benefits which Diksha was pointing out, that eventually there are benefits, but yeah, you go through a lot of experiences also to bring that.
Nice. Gaurav, I bring it back to you from where I was talking about ITSM to ESM, because I want to talk about from a perspective of somebody who works with multiple customers together, right? As a solution partner. When it comes to, let's say a customer comes to you with a problem that, hey, I'm trying to move to ESM. What's the first advice that you give them, like in the journey of moving from ITSM to ESM? Because like if you ask me, my first question to agile transformation and moving to ESM is always why. Why do you want to get this headache? Because trust me, your life will not be easier. It will be in the near future, but not right now. It's going to be a struggle, right?
Not in the near future, but eventually, yes. So the
Eventually.
question, yeah. So the question or the base question remains the same: why? Uh, One thing we need to understand, and which becomes a challenge with customers, is they expect overnight results. So expectation handling and setting is of paramount importance there. So
Sure.
when a customer comes and says, "Oh, we have a really nice ITSM setup," which rarely is, right? Being honest or being realistic, it rarely is. But we want to embark on a journey which expands beyond IT, or a service management journey which expands beyond IT. So the first thing is why, and then from where do you want to start? And usually when such a customer comes, they come with a heavy load of expectations that, okay, we want to do everything in a single go, right? So they want to go big bang, or even if they don't want to go big bang, their expectation is set, the bar is set very high, that we want to encompass the complete, let's say, finance, HR, legal, all of these departments. These are the general ones which come, including facilities, in a single go. So rather than doing that, what you need to do is sit down with the customer, understand what their key pain points are, right? And chalk out a journey for them. A roadmap for them that, okay, we cannot do anything in a big bang manner, rather do it in a phased manner, right? So that uh, you can fine tune as you go. Also, you can help with the user adoption, the point which Himanshi was saying, because till date users are adept at doing something in a certain way. You are changing the complete ways of working for them, or rather bringing in a new system of work, right? You're changing the way they think about it. You are changing the way it is structured today. So you need to do all of that, and you need to think about what services is that department offering. You need to
Yeah.
create a lot of artifacts for them, because most of the times these are missing. So it's a long journey, and in the initial calls you need to get that expectation setting, and expectation downgrading, I'll call it, more than setting, because you really have to control the narrative from there. Otherwise it becomes a really challenging journey for both sides. It's not only the one who is implementing, it's also the customer side also, right? Which faces that challenge. So that's how I would put it. The question again, the base question remains why, and then from there you evolve.
Nice. I'm glad you mentioned adoption, because that is actually the part of next question which I wanted to talk about and ask more people to share their opinion on as well. Because yes, we, like a lot of customers that we work with, we get portals enabled, right? We get JSM, we get JSM setup. We even like associate email addresses to portals, but we still get those emails coming in for support. Like as a marketplace partner slash solution partner, sometimes I've also been a culprit of this, because I miss some things, and then we have to create a ticket for our own self because you get emails and you miss them. While the audience responds more on like some of these funny answers, I would want to know, like, for example, Ajay, when you think of customer portal, right? As a user of a customer portal, why is change so tough for a end user? And what can product do? Let's say, for example, that section of the conversation I want to hear from Himanshi and Diksha. What Atlassian is currently doing, and what can more we do to reduce that gap so that the change is a little more easier and the adoption rates go up. So maybe I'll start with Ajay and then we can go to Himanshi and Diksha.
Yeah, maybe I can take this question from a marketplace perspective. What I understand is there are two types of users, right? So you have the internal IT user, and then you still have the external user, your end customer. And the end customer could be quite comfortable using the portal, logging in tickets and all this stuff. Whereas the internal IT user could be more comfortable using the newer generation of bots to which he has access to. So that's my take, because I see two categories of users. You have the internal users and the external users, who would be the end customers of people using JSM.
Sure. And Himanshi,
That's
Diksha, when it comes to, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you, Ajay, because I have so many questions on this aspect, right? Adoption is a big challenge when it comes to pushing people to change their ways of working, which Gaurav was also talking about. What does Atlassian do, or what is their strategy when it comes to making that curve as small as it can be? Maybe Himanshi, you can go this time, and then Diksha can add on.
Yeah. So I think of course, change definitely comes with a resistance. You were living in house A and suddenly you have been asked to shift to house B, where you don't know about your areas, locality, and also it's something similar for a customer also, that overnight things have been changed for them. So how do we try to make things? And of course, Diksha can add more on that. We try to bring experience as similar as possible. Like we try, of course, for instance, in Opsgenie, how they were using alerting on call. We know how they are used to that. What's their SOP in that manner? Can we have something similar so that they don't feel that much difference when they come to this product? So that is something which we try to do that, because there's a kind of a muscle memory that the customer has, and they are used to that kind of processes, that kind of system. In that case, of course, that's one thing we try to make sure. Second, of course, we try to guide them better so that they're not lost in the process. So that guidance is something which is given very, we focus on that quite a bit, that they are guided on every step, where they are, like, if they are coming from product A to product B, so that guidance is there for them, and we handhold them during the product, of course, in product thing so itself. But this is something which we try to focus, so that their journey becomes smooth. Of course, there are hiccups, but again, we try to identify and make things, we try to make things better for them so that it's not that difficult for them to come from point A to point B, or to go through that particular
Nice.
change.
I just want to call out Liz's comment in the chat, which is 100% on point. The why, which Gaurav also mentioned about, is exactly from where we should start. And right, we come to the point of how we want to do it. Before I go to Diksha, I also want to ask you, how are some of these features different from, let's say, the competitors? I drop the green bomb and say, how are they different from ServiceNow? Because that's what the audience is asking in the chat as well. Maybe you could start from there.
I don't. So what I see personally when like we've looked at ServiceNow, looked at how the configurations are, it is very complex. The configurations and everything that you set up in ServiceNow is super complex for any third person who joins in, maybe new to the organization, or maybe is a major incident manager, or maybe it's just an on-call responder. For a new persona like this to enter and start using ServiceNow, a lot of the workflows are complex. Of course, there are use cases that multiple products tend to offer, and our key strengths lie in seamless connectivity with other Atlassian products, and at the same time, making configurations easy to understand, and at the same time, give that same value to anyone using it. For example, getting notified for alerts. Yes, there are 8 other ways that you can get notified, but what are the core key things that you want? Mobile push notifications, you want chat tools, you want emails, and you want SMSs. But key advanced features, for example, voice notifications, which both products offer, it's just the way you're able to see those 4 options in front of you, make the configuration and decision, and easily get onto the job. So I think this is one big feature and the way you use the products that we see in terms of competitor difference. Of course, there are strengths and weaknesses on both sides of the tools that we have. And the end game, of course, is to ensure that if company A comes to us that I want this sort of a flow enabled in our systems, we are able to provide that, given it's not super complex. If there are any particular questions that anyone has with respect to like feature differences for operations, feel free to drop them in the chat and we can like give more insights. On a high level, this is what we can offer, because it's just a huge, massive product that caters to multiple various scenarios.
100% agreed. And Srinivas, please feel free to do that. I was just about to recommend, please write detailed question if you have any. We'll make sure we export the chat, share it with the panelists, and they'll be able to respond in detailed manner. Gaurav, I want to ask you, like, so let me give you some insight how I created these questions, right? I actually spoke to people who use JSM day in, day out, and they gave me versions of these answers. So the fourth answer that you're seeing is literally somebody who's a user who's told me this, that a lot of times the biggest challenge is that the users have to go to another portal, and the Teams integration and the Slack integration are not probably that much used as it could be. And with the advent of AI, right, and that's the next section, of course, we are going to jump on in. How do you think that can change? Or first question, how do you think that can change? And second, is that going to be enough? Or would we always have to rely on a human? Because, of course, the chat also says the same. It's always better to talk to a human when you have an issue, whether it's ITSM, ESM. People still prefer to talk to a human than send a chatbot a message or trying to find a solution.
Okay. So I'll try and answer that. Before that, one thing is we should all understand humans by nature do not like change. And I'm talking in general. If it comes to me also that, okay, come tomorrow, you're gonna do it like this. My first question is gonna be, man, I'm gonna be cringy. This was working. Why do you want to change it? Right. So that's normal human tendency. So humans tend to talk to humans because they might have had some previous experiences which was good. So they go by that. But we need to understand that as an organization grows, this is not a model which can be extrapolated. You're not going to have a large support team which can always be available to address your concerns, your problems, right? And coming to your other part of it, where Slack or Teams is people don't tend to use that or don't feel like. So what is going to happen come tomorrow with the advent of AI? You never know who is sitting on the other side, whether it's a human, whether it's a bot, right? And if you look at the feature set currently with JSM, with the virtual agent and its integration with Slack, and with Rovo coming in, you can train your bots, you can train your models so smartly, so very effectively and efficiently that people would not come to know whether they are talking to a human or they are talking to a bot. And to be honest, the question which was on the screen, this is a real problem which I have been trying to solve for numerous of my customers, even currently. So I have a customer who says that they have three methods of ticket creation: phone call, emails, portal, where portal is being used only 2% of the times. So imagine the impact of it, just 2%. So if you're getting 100 tickets, roughly 49 or 50 would be through a phone call or an email or vice versa. Just 2 tickets are coming via the portal. So understanding what's the problem is at the root of it. What we have seen, or what I have seen, is a well-defined service catalog can help you go distance with this kind of a problem. Because what happens is, if a person is creating an email via a ticket via an email, right, it gets into a simpler queue or it gets the standard SLAs, whereas the problem could be much bigger. So education, creating a service catalog which is really useful and which understands the uh, customer's problem or their key areas which can be addressed, then yes, you can ensure that the adoption is higher. But for that, we all have to, even the team which is doing this, they have to understand what the key problems are, what their key areas are. And honestly, this is not a one-time exercise. Your catalog optimization is not something which you do once and you can sit back and relax. No. One aspect of ITIL which I believe is least utilized is continuous improvement, or least focused on. The continuous improvement, whether it's your service catalog or whether any other aspect, you need to keep evolving, you need to keep changing. That's how you can slowly and steadily move people towards that area, towards adoption of the portal. So that's how I see it.
Nice. And panel, again, please don't wait for me to asking. If you have any thoughts, comments, please feel free to jump in at any point. I just want to carry forward in the interest of time, because I know I had a couple more questions that I wanted to take your take on, but I want to spend 2 more minutes on this specific question where we talk about even the chat and the Mentimeter represents that, right? While yes, AI teammates are going to like looked at like going to solve problems, there is a mild panic that still exists. Maybe it's movies like Terminator, or maybe it's movies like, wherever AI has gone rogue, and let's just not even talk about it, right? That exists. Let's address the elephant in the room. So there is a mild panic whenever we talk about that. Be it ChatGPT giving wrong answers or incorrect answers on anything else, any other AI bots. How does Atlassian make sure that the responses are a little more tuned to, let's say, people who are just starting their journey with AI? Diksha.
I would say any journey with AI takes a bit of time to adjust, and to sort of learn and adopt this new way of working where you are trusting someone who doesn't exist to give you some sort of answers to solve your problem. That is one of, I think, the biggest challenges that even on a personal front, when you use ChatGPT or any AI tool, you tend to take your own time to trust and build that confidence. Essentially, what Atlassian, I think, does really well is it doesn't enforce any of these features on you. Such AI agents or any AI ops features also, for example, are flexible enough for users to take a conscious call and use. Till the time people are not actively taking or sort of practically using these, they will not ever get that confidence. So essentially, Atlassian tends to sort of train you well to make you understand what the capabilities of the feature are and what you can do the most from it. So
Nice.
you understand the pros, cons, the boundaries, and what to expect. Gradually, you can start using those features. If I give an example of alert grouping, there are two versions. You can see the list view, and there is another version to see the alert grouping. There is never an enforcement that you have to use something that is meant for you. And gradually, Atlassian builds capabilities after understanding use cases where you want customizations to how you group the alerts, or you want to understand if services or integrations or any other factors of alerts can be used to group these. So gradually adapt to the features that are being released to you. It's not something that is enforced on you. See if it meets your use cases. If you're an on-call responder and it's saving you time, you will gradually see the benefit and start using the feature. Similarly, how we probably use AI on a personal front on a day-to-day basis. If we're liking Gemini search and it's giving us answers, we won't even scroll down to see other pages. It's just a quick response because it gave me that response on my previous query. So now I don't need to scroll down and see other pages. So I think with that level of customization and gradually getting you used to such features, people can tend to build that trust and start playing around with these in their day-to-day jobs where the risk they see is a little low. So don't maybe start using anything on day one of a F0 incident. Gradually build it as part of your workflows, ensure you're feeding in the right data to these agents to get the accurate results.
Nice. That's interesting. All right. I'm going to move on to the next question and point it towards Ajay, because as a product person, I'm sure, have seen tons of incidences in your own career and working at View 26 as well. What are the biggest issues that you see? And again, there might be some funny ones in the options. These are literally things that people said to me when I was doing a group questionnaire to get some of these responses. But Ajay, what are some of the bigger challenges that you have faced? And how do tools, like let's say, for example, JSM, has helped you resolve them?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to answer this from a customer's perspective because we do have reporting apps for JSM, and some of our large customers, they create tons of incidents on a monthly basis, right? So the sheer volume which Atlassian is able to handle, and I mean the number of webhooks which we receive, that's quite enormous, right? And the amount of customizations which customers also make in terms of custom fields, that's another thing which highlights me, because I'm sometimes I mean, like you see customers using like more than 150 custom fields, right? So that's another interesting thing to see when people use incidents.
Nice.
That's my take. It's more from a customer perspective.
Sure, sure. And Gaurav, what about you from a solution partner perspective? Like, how does that look like? Have you got? I'm pretty sure you would have gotten up at 2 a.m. to respond to an incident, or gotten a call from Opsgenie that there's a incident bridge that you have to jump on. How has your experience been?
So, with respect to the tools, right? The tools are evolving and ever evolving, right? So, it's been a good experience where tools do provide us with the appropriate support. But what we need to understand is that we define the process, because one of the biggest challenges whenever you have a major incident irrespective of the domain, is people expecting an immediate answer, right? So if you have a major incident, you do have some of those listed out there. Your senior management, your managers would just poke and come and, hey,
Yeah.
what's the response? And what's an update? What's the solution? How quickly can you fix it? What are we doing? What's the progress? And it would happen almost every 15 minutes, or even at a much faster frequency, right? So that's where I believe, the tools have come to our rescue. Previously, we used to have major incident managers who were only responsible for sending out these communications, right? Maybe every 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I'm talking about roughly 15, 16 years ago. When I started my career in support, we used to have those major incident managers whose only purpose was to have right people on the call, send out appropriate communications in a timely fashion, keep everybody calm down that, okay, yeah, we are working, the team is working kind of scenario. And that's where I believe tools like Status Page, tools like Ops Genie, which work so very smoothly with JSM, have made lives easier for a lot of people. Uh, with that, what I still feel is only the tool cannot solve the challenge or problem. You have to configure the tool correctly so that it provides appropriate level of detail to the right audience. So that's really important, because at times I've seen customers thinking, oh, I've purchased this tool, it would be like my elixir for life, it would solve all my problems. Sorry to shatter that glass for you. It's not gonna do that. You have to use it appropriately.
Sure. Perfect. Let me move on to the next question. Now, this I'll be very honest. This was something that somebody asked me a couple of years ago while I was in consulting. Now I work more so with products. But this is something that somebody asked me that, yes, you have SLAs. What about XLAs? And I, being a naive person, asked, what is an XLA on a customer call? They're like, oh, what about my experience? What about the satisfaction that you could have given me by XYZ reasons, but it was not tracked, or it was not met with the way it could have been met. And again, as somebody who works in product, I'm sure Ajay would have similar experiences as well, because we keep having conversations with customers over tickets, but it's not an experience, right? How do we first maybe find a way to better it, improve it, change it? I don't know what's the best way to move forward on it, but how do we try and make it a little more easier? I first asked from the product experts. Himanshi, maybe I would like to hear your take on it.
Yeah, so experience wise, of course, I think first we want to understand what is the experience that they're going through. What is the experience that they expect in a particular flow? We try to understand what are the constraints that they are facing and why we are not able to provide that, like basically what our current functionality is offering them. And then we try to understand the gap that is there. Of course, it becomes a little tricky. We can't deliver everything in a moment, and of course we also improve as we understand and learn their journey. But yeah, I think it's mostly the feedback part that we take into account. But of course, before that also, when we build the product, we try to make sure that the experience of the product that we're delivering is good. But again, it depends on use case to use case. Every customer uses it in a different manner. They can come up with different use cases. So of course, we also improve gradually in an incremental manner as how we learn from our customers. So that's how we are trying to do that. Probably we try to be best, but again, it can't be best enough for first shot, because everybody will have different scenarios. So of course, incrementally, we try to improve that as and when we hear feedback from our customers.
And Ajay, like when you are talking about your own customers, how do you try to, as somebody who owns a specific product on the marketplace, right, try to maintain that experience for the end customers as well over a tool?
Yeah, so I think from a SLA perspective, time to first response is pretty important, because if you are able to respond to the customer and show the empathy when it comes to some service not working right, or degraded performance, I think that creates a lot of, impact to the customer. So even though the service is not performing to the SLA levels, you being the first responder within a very short period, trying to get to understand the core of the issue, and then having this conversation and trying to get on a call to debug a particular issue is something worthwhile. And for me, it's always the CSAT rating, which Jira shows, right? So you have the CSAT score. So that is basically the experience what the customer had when there was an incident created or a request created.
Right. I really like that you use the word empathy in there, because yeah, first understanding that the customer has had an issue. So somewhere between, like if we look at the chats or on Mentimeter's response as well, while fixing the issue is very important, I think communication with the customer becomes like just as much important, right? And I'd be stupid if I don't ask Dave to step in here, because I know from his wealth of experience with ALM, with Tempo, how do you, or used to, and now with Trundle Dave, get into a place where you can empathize with the customer that something has gone wrong, but still work with technical teams to make sure that the service is up and running?
I'm glad you asked. I was just typing something in the chat about how passionate I am about this topic. It seems that in many cases, our customers and others, including myself, are driven by MTTR. They want to resolve the issues fast, and they want to measure that statistic, and at the same time not deeply understand how the approach might be affecting customer satisfaction. I think it's extremely important that we do, as Gaurav suggests, that you have to have customer empathy.
Yeah.
You have to really deeply understand their issue before you start feeding them answers.
Nice. I just want to read Liz's comment again in the chat, because she makes a very important point, which says use your customer as an SME. Because when you get your customer inside the picture, how important would that person would be? Because that's the person you're making the product for, right? When you're trying to build it from their perspective, even if it is resolving an issue or while building a new feature, that experience will often come into the picture and make or break the product, to be very honest. All right. Just in the interest of time, I want to make our next question a little more time, which is a open-ended question. So you can actually write or ask any question from our panel. If you want to mention somebody, like if you want to ask Atlassian about something, please go ahead and do that. If you want to uh, ask Gaurav or Ajay, you can do that as well. But any open challenge or any open questions that you might have, please feel free to ask that now. Let me share my screen again, and this time hopefully with a QR code, so you can actually start responding. While you do that, let me ask Gaurav first. What is your biggest challenge as a solution partner when you're trying to implement ITSM or ESM? When change cannot be the word that you say, or resistance to change cannot be the thing that you say.
So probably since you're taking away those options, I'll have to go back to one of my previous responses at the risk of repeating myself. The client's wish list, that they want everything under the sun and want it done yesterday, that's the biggest challenge. So
Yeah.
We had a client, I'll quote an example. They wanted to track their plant floor machines as they were received from the vendor and they were being installed. So imagine hardware machines which may or may not be internet enabled. That's the response I got from the client. But they want to track it so that they can move quickly in their journey, right? So that level of service management they wanted, that okay, that's a service they are providing to their customers or their end users, so they wanted to track that, and they did not have the complete information with them itself, right? So in my opinion, the biggest challenge again comes back to expectation handling or understanding the client's pain points, and at times navigating through this complete discussion that's where the meat of the discussion or meat of the challenge lies. At times, customers themselves do not understand what their real problem is. They are just telling you what they're experiencing or what the symptoms are, but they are not able to come to the crux of the problem, right? So having that initial discussion where you decide or come to the point why and then what and how, that's where if you can address all of these questions, you have won half the battle. Remaining half remains in implementation and then adoption. That's another big challenge there. But if you can set up the tool well, understanding the key pain points and addressing them, then yes, it's half the battle won, I will say.
And some of these responses that you are getting in are quite interesting. I think the first one is something who any solution partner or any end user has struggled so much that they'll bring an old legacy system and say, "Oh, can you put this into JSM?" Just like it's two folders and you're putting one suitcase inside the other. Uh, but one thing that I want to touch is which a little bit more on the fourth one, right? Like not fourth, actually sixth one, making it easy for the end users, but get enough information for the agents to get the tickets done as soon as possible without having to ask end user for more information. So, of course, AI has to get into this specific aspect. If when we are talking about not getting enough information, but still being able to not ask and presuming some of these content. While that contradicts with the fourth question that came in, which is AI has now become we don't need to hire support people, right? When we talk about virtual teammates or robo agents specifically, I'll just drop robo agent in the name as well. How do Atlassian recommend what's the best practice or what's the best strategy when you're trying to work in a scenario like that, Diksha?
I think what I feel is that um, Atlassian, like I mentioned, that it's not very forced. The best strategy is like uh, you don't tend to put all your energy, all your configurations, and all your expectations from the agent. There is a good balance between how you can use agents to make your workflows easy. And that is the balance that I think customers need to figure out. If you feel like your agent can probably solve everything, maybe it can, but it will take you time and your organization time to adjust to that or to even perfect that. So it's better to try to solve small parts of your workflows gradually with the help of AI features and tools and agents, and then see in the future or 6 months or 3 quarters down the line how you can improve the workflows by measuring your metrics at the same time. So is your resolution time reducing by adding this agent? Is any other workflow getting impacted when you introduce this agent or introduce this feature? So while you're curating these workflows, it's always important to track success and whether it's having that impact on you rather than just jumping into like picking up that workflow. So understand your problem statement, figure out where you can use these AI features. You don't have to use everything. You can maybe start small, figuring out where uh, using less has a bigger impact, and then gradually making that change and adjusting to a new workflow within your organization. I think that's what I've seen, and that's what we recommend even in all our best practices. Like if you see incident management best practices, we don't say that you just like make every incident a major incident. There are ways to ensure that you're looping in the right people at the right time, curating workflows to identify which is a major incident, and then building it from there on. So I
Awesome.
think that's methodology that I would recommend.
Awesome. I just want to give out like one more thing. While Diksha was mentioning that, one thing that was buzzing in my head was I used to have this old gym coach back in the day when I used to play basketball for my state. His point was there are 50 machines in the gym, not all of them are for you. right? There's a learning curve to these machines, and I will teach you as we go along. And that's all I heard while Diksha was mentioning that thing. Himanshi, I'll ask one more question to you, which is the sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, the left bottom question, which is more customizations in the portal. I want to target this because while I was doing my little survey to creating this questionnaire, a lot of people ask me this: what is Atlassian's plan on customizations on the portal? Because that, as of now, is a blocker for a lot of people that I know, and they have to rely on or depend on a lot of vendors, or even there are limited functionalities. What is Atlassian doing specifically on this aspect? And Himanshi, yeah, if you could take that.
So I think if you're asking for help portal right now, I know it's not customizable. Probably maybe I can get back to you. This is a different team who's handling it altogether. But I've seen initiatives that they are looking into it, and they have seen this concern, and they're making progress in that direction. But probably if you're asking more specifically on some timelines or how they're proceeding, that probably I think I need to get back to you on that.
Awesome.
So
I see Gaurav raising his hand. Go ahead, Gaurav.
So I would say some of the latest enhancements to the customer portal do address the points which have been raised here. Now, in the current setup on the JSM side, you can restrict permissions to specific customers for even to the point of raising certain request types. So to give you an example, right? If you want HR portal to be open to only to internal customers, you can do that. Whereas the rest of the complete or certain features of HR portal to be open to, let's say, senior managers and above, you can do that. Then you can separate out one particular portal or project, as it's called in JSM terminology, and provide that URL to the end customer where they do not see rest of your portals. So
Nice.
controlling the access is one part of it, then also not showcasing what you have on the other side, right? Because at times there are certain small features like logos or something which you do not want to expose. So some of these have been addressed in the latest features in the last 2 or 3 months, which have been rolled out. So I would highly encourage people to go and check out the updated feature set. So it's coming there, not exactly there, but yeah, there are enhancements which address a lot of these points.
Awesome. With that, I see the time, which is exactly 8. So I take a pause. I had a couple more questions, but I think we could not cover all of them. But this was great. Thank you so much, Himanshi, Diksha, Gaurav, and Ajay, for sharing your inputs. I would like everybody in the chat, there are 22 people who are in there. If you could share your response on whether you like this new format. If you didn't, that's completely all right as well. You can select the fourth option. We can find PPTs, and we can make sure that we do more PPT sessions as well, which we will. I'm not, no hate towards PPTs. I like PPTs as well. But if you like this format, please let us know. We would try to do more of these unfiltered conversations. And most importantly, thank you to the panel, Ajay, Gaurav, Himanshi, and Diksha for sharing, and most importantly, being willing to try this new experiment. And any closing comments, question, thoughts, guys?
Super
Open to
engaging.
all.
Super engaging session, and it was great to be here, Sajith, and thank you for organizing this and looping both Himanshi and myself. It's good to know how people think about the key questions you've asked and what are the top of the mind things they have. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I was thinking I'll get one of you. Then I thought, what's better than having one Atlassian on the panel? Get two Atlassians on the panel. So then I reached out to both of you. And then I reached out, okay, one marketplace partner and one solutions partner. Of course, both of them being community leaders also, help the fact. Yeah, thank you, everybody. We'll put this recording on our ITSM-ESM Masters community YouTube channel if you have any questions. Thank you for being very active participant, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.